Gielinor Games Season 4, Episode 1 review by me, Soup RS, Soup Super, whatever you want to call me, the host of Gielinor Games. I'm ready to talk about Episode 1, the entry into the 4th season of Gielinor Games. And I'm really excited to talk about for you guys. I'm just going to kind of talk about my thoughts of the episode as I'm watching it, and any questions you guys might have that I don't answer or that I don't talk about, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get back to them in the comments section. So buckle up, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We are so close to 1 million subscribers, and if you have anything to say or suggest, I read through every comment in the comment section, so make sure to leave your thoughts and feedback there. Let's talk about just the season in general, kind of going into it, what I was thinking. As I had mentioned in the previous videos about talking about the behind the scenes, only 18 people on the season compared to 20, but that was mainly because 20 people had initially said yes, but a couple people had to drop out due to time constraints, so we ended up with 18, which I was still very much okay with. Right off the bat, the first thing that I do differently in this season compared to seasons 1, 2, and 3 is I don't have that 6 to 8 minute intro segment at the very start of the episode where it's just kind of music playing, there's a music montage, and people are being introduced as the music montage is going on, kind of just like everybody's introduced all at once in the first 6 to 8 minutes. And I decided to change that up this time around for 2 reasons. One, I noticed in the previous seasons that some people were just kind of clicking past that part or even just clicking off of the video when those player introduction parts were happening. So for this season, I wanted to change it up a little bit and kind of do it the way that actual reality shows do it, at least the ones that I watch, where they kind of introduce the people on the season as the episode is going on. So for season 4, for episode 1, you guys may have noticed only I think 5 to 6 people are introduced at the very start, and that's as they're all kind of walking towards the, the area where they're all going to stand. I introduced, people like Settled, Skill Spec, Zoe Pancakes, West Ham, Dino, or at least I think, no, maybe not West Ham. West Ham's later, but Soul Mission's in there, right? So I introduced kind of a handful of people, but I introduced the rest of them as the episode's going on. And again, that's mainly just because, well, I didn't want people clicking off the video right away because I noticed that was something people were doing in the last few seasons, but it also just kind of is just the YouTube algorithm these days is the faster you get to the action and the faster you get to the meat and juice of the episode, the more likely people are going to stick around and watch. This is kind of the YouTube atmosphere, or the YouTube way these days. And, as much as I'd like this to be a network TV show, it isn't. It's a YouTube show, right? So I kind of have to cater to the YouTube algorithm and cater the way YouTube likes its videos being uploaded. Today's GG episode review is brought to you by Rocket Money. Getting a random charge on your credit card or bank account has happened to all of us. Most of the time, it's a subscription you forgot you purchased, or you signed up for a free trial and forgot to cancel it. That's where Rocket Money can help. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. They've helped save their members up to $740 a year when all their features are used. Over $500 million have been saved in cancel subscriptions alone. Most of my viewers are in their 20s and 30s, which is the age range where we need to start thinking about putting some money aside for our future, and Rocket Money can help you with that. The best thing is they cancel unwanted subscriptions for you. You can even cancel from the app. Rocket Money takes care of everything. No customer service calls or chats needed on your end. On top of that, they can negotiate to lower your bills for you, like your internet or phone bills. I highly recommend taking advantage of their budgeting features, which lets you analyze your spending habits to create a custom budget that works with your lifestyle. And guess what? You can get started for free. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/super or click the link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/super to get started for free. I feel like it was a good idea to kind of just straight within the first 4 to 5 minutes get straight into the rule explanations and the season format and the twists and all that stuff. So again, if you guys are wondering why there wasn't that intro segment like I've done in the first 3 seasons, that was the main reason for it. Mainly just because, well, I wanted to get into the action right away, and it's just kind of a YouTube thing that you do that. So yeah, but the nice thing is that I kind of think I found really natural points to introduce people as the episode was going on, and I think that really helped. A lot of people tell me that when I introduce 20 people in 6 minutes, a lot of people are just forgotten about, or it's just too much information and it's kind of confusing. So I actually thought this was a nice little way to spread out the introductions in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the first episode. That way, each person has a little bit more time to explain who they are, and it's not just crammed in all at once. So I actually think I prefer it the way that I did it. I know some people said they were missing the montage, but I don't think it was a deal breaker for them to watch the season or not. But I do think, and hopefully maybe you guys can give me some feedback on this, the way I did it of introducing people as the episode was going on was maybe it kept people watching, and it helps people, learn more and understand the people better as the episode was going on. So yeah, that was kind of just my thoughts on introducing the people. I'll talk more about the players themselves as, there's some big moments happen in the episode and as they get eliminated and stuff like that. But just in general, the cast this season, I worked really hard to try to get people in there who I knew, of course, were going to be entertaining, good at the game, came in with previous relationships from previous seasons, or new players who know each other from just the game itself or content creation. People like, for example, West Ham and Dino. It's their first season on, but they know each other. They're very good friends. At least I think they are. They have great banter, and I thought they would be a great addition to the show. The biggest thing, of course, is the farmers. People ask me all the time, "Oh, Soup, why did you invite the farmers?" Well, it's a storyline. As you guys know, I love storylines. You need storylines when you're creating a reality show. Creating a reality show. And that's exactly what the farmers bring, a storyline. People see them as a threat heading into it. We've got 4 rookies coming in from the farmers: Roydy, MMORPG, Zoe Cookies, and Mr. Mammal. Foes back for another season after being a powerhouse in the previous one. And again, I know that the farmers we'll talk more about throughout these season reviews, but again, I really wanted to bring them in because they were a great storyline to have in episode 1. There was an entire 1-minute segment, I think, where everybody's like, "Oh my god, the farmers are here. Oh no, the farmers." And that alone is kind of just like, oh my god, who are the farmers, right? Why are these guys so crazy? I know some people weren't big fans. When I say some people, I usually mean a very small minority of people. Sometimes it's the vocal minority, right? But it really isn't that many people who are happy with, like, "Oh, you brought in a whole group. That's not fair. That's a whole alliance right away." Well, that wasn't exactly true if you watch. They weren't exactly working together. They kind of were, and I don't know. It was kind of all over the place, but it led to a great storyline. So yeah, the farmers are in there. We have Hootie coming in there. Hootie is a J-mod. And I've worked with Hootie for years on things like graphics for Gielinor games. He's been in the community for a long time. He's so funny, absolutely hilarious, and he's really good at the game. So I thought he'd be a great addition to the show, which is exactly what he was. And in general, I was really happy with the cast. We got a lot of people coming back. I thought this cast was absolutely stacked. So many powerhouses coming back. I was so happy that so many people said yes to come back from the last one. Of course, one of the most difficult things about casting is that for some people, not to come back, I have to bring in, or for new people to come in, I have to not bring certain people back. That's one of the hardest parts. But I think I was able to get a lot of people back who were fan favorites and just really good on the show. And I think it led, like I said, to an absolutely incredible season. So I'll talk more about players as the episodes are going on. But let's talk about the Episode 1 challenge. So the format of the season I explained in a previous behind the scenes video. Again, please make sure you guys watch if you haven't already. Take a look at the previous behind the scenes videos. I explained the format of the season and my thoughts going into it, and why, it was another free agent season, why we had the twist of the Tribunal. We had the twist of choosing, which player you want to go against. We have the Amulet of Choice. Lots of design went into this season when it comes to creating the format. So a lot of twists coming into it. I remember I had to explain the rules 3 or 4 times to everybody in the call the first time I did it because, well, actually, here's a little behind the scenes fact. I don't tell the people in the show what the format is before they join. All I tell them is that it's going to be a different format every season. So whenever we join the call for the first time when a season starts, they don't know what the format's going to be. So there's usually like a 30-minute explanation period where I'm telling people what the rules are and, what the season format is. And then a lot of the times it's like, wait, can you explain that again? Like, well, what does that mean? So, it probably would be better if I sent them an entire draft and an outline of what the show and the format's going to be for this season, but I kind of like them being scared and nervous and not knowing what to expect coming into the season, right? Because if they know exactly what the format is and what's going to happen, then maybe they can kind of cheese their way into the first episode with some cheeky strats, which might not be a bad thing. But again, that's just kind of my thoughts. I kind of like keeping it suspenseful and tense and secretive up until episode 1 begins filming. So episode 1, The challenge is Spawn Stars. Remember, this is the Tribunal introduction where the top 3 people who win a challenge get into the Tribunal, and we're starting it off with a Spawn Stars challenge. So you guys know I love myself some item spawns. I absolutely love item spawns. Everybody always asks me, if I was in Gielinor games, do you think I would do well? Or do I think I would do well? And I think when it comes to an item spawn challenge, I would absolutely crush. The amount of challenges I've designed around item spawns in the game, the amount of B-roll I have filmed and recordings I have filmed of people picking up B-roll or picking up items on the ground. I just know so many item spawns. You know, things like the copycat challenge involve item spawns. So again, I've done a lot of item spawn challenges, and the Spawn Stars is a really cool twist on it. So in Spawn Stars, everybody has 1 minute to bring back an item spawn from around the game. But the thing is, if you bring back the same item spawn as somebody else, you guys are both out. So it's a really simple challenge, very simple to understand, but it has the opportunity to be very exciting and spicy and tense. And those are my favorite challenges. As soon as I can think and come up with a challenge that's very easy to explain and has the potential to be a very exciting challenge, that is amazing. Because if it's easy for you guys to understand, that means, there's more people who are going to enjoy the challenge. I think a lot of people prefer challenges that are just simple to watch and simple to understand, and this is exactly one of them. So this challenge is really interesting because you would think off the top of your head, oh, this isn't too bad. There's so many item spawns in the game, and that is true. I think I had mentioned there was like 150 item spawns or something, but there's a 1 minute time limit. So you have probably 30 to 40 items out of the 150 that you just can't even reach in that time limit. So that knocks off those items. There's a bunch of spawns in the game that have duplicate spawns, so you have to worry about somebody else getting that spawn and bringing it back as well. And on top of that, you're in your first Gielinor Games challenge of the season. You have, the nervousness and the intensity and probably the nerves going on at the same time. Your brain's not working right. It's all over the place. So this is a great challenge because it's nice and easy to start off. But it also allows, I think, a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about the game to kind of shine, right? Because especially the Iron Men. I would say this is definitely an Iron Man heavy challenge, but we had people like, for example, Sea Engineer coming up with a really great strategy with the stone balls in the Birthwarp Games room, right? We had Dino clearing out the fishing guild. There's so many different... I think Foe had a really good strategy with the Shazen area because there's so many cool item spawns there. So again, you could really see how clever people got with this challenge, and I really, really enjoyed it. So the fun thing about this one, or I guess the thing that made me nervous about this one was I didn't necessarily know how long it would go because there's so many item spawns in the game. If everybody's on top of their game and getting new item spawns every single round, I mean, we could have gone for 15 to 20 rounds. There could have been multiple rounds where nobody gets eliminated, right? The challenge drags on. It becomes boring. That made me really nervous going into it because what if that was the case? Luckily, we had only a single round where somebody didn't get eliminated, and that was, I think, round 7, I believe. But every single round, we had either somebody bringing back a duplicate item or somebody didn't come back in time, right? I think it started off perfectly. Not that I hate to see these people get eliminated, but the fact that we had West Ham and Hootie bringing back a duplicate item in round 1. Skill Specs has one of the funniest moments of the season. I mean, those two phrases go hand in hand. Skill Specs, funniest moment of the season. I mean, it happens every time. So Skill Specs running out of time because he claimed not to be low enough in the wilderness to teleport out, even though he was, but he just straight up ran out of time. There was duplicates in round 3 and 4, I think, right? And people just kept getting eliminated. And that was perfect because one exciting thing about a challenge like this is the eliminations that happen every single round. And I think that keeps viewers on their toes and the competitors on their toes, and it makes it really exciting. So I thought it worked out really, really perfectly. And I thought the challenge ended up great and went great. Now, the MVP of the challenge had to be, of course, Settled. Settled had the best strategy, a strategy I didn't even think of when coming up with this challenge, and that was to buy an apron from Varrock and use the crafting guild to his advantage because there are 8, I think, mold spawns in there that don't spawn anywhere else, or if they do, they're very far away. But he took the strategy of getting in there and just grabbing molds one by one. And the interesting thing about that strategy is everybody knew he was going to the crafting guild and everybody knew he was getting the molds. So I think everybody else who was participating was scared to go there because he had the best way of doing it and was probably scared to pick up mold spawns that were somewhere else in the game because he was very adamant, like, I'm doing the molds, I'm getting them. And he just had a free 7-8 rounds off of that, which I thought was absolutely genius. And the other thing he did, which I was I thought was awesome, was he told people that the crafting guild was cleared out, completely cleared out, when there was actually a single mold spawn left, and he was saving that just in case he needed it once the rounds started getting shorter and shorter. So that was very, very smart. It ended up working for him perfectly. He did get into the Tribunal because of it. So I think in terms of just like the Challenge 1 MVP, settled really, I think, just right off the bat. Obviously, he has an incredible season, but right off the bat, he kind of showed that he was here to play this season. And I think everybody could kind of tell just from the episode itself and the other competitors, yeah, he was ready to go. So, I think it goes on to 9 total rounds, but one by one, everybody starts getting eliminated. And then we have the rounds go to 45 seconds. That knocks out, I think, 3 people. Eviescape, Frame get out. Dino gets out, right? And we're down to 4 people. Settled, Torvesta, Solo Mission, and Bodhi. I mean, what an unbelievably stacked Final Four. I mean, I don't think you could say that those 4 are, some of the goats of the Gielinor games, right? So to have those 4 people be the final 4 people left, and there's only 3 spots in the Tribunal, oh man, the storylines are just writing themselves. I was absolutely stoked. And then, of course, on the final round, where there's, for the first time, 4 people left, they have 45 seconds to get an item, we have Solo Mission and Bodhi both going for the same item, Snape Grass. And Bodhi clutches it. Bodhi has the faster route to get to the Hobgoblin Island and get the Snape Grass. Solo Mission gets the Snape Grass from Waterbirth Island. What's interesting is that Solo Mission had mentioned I don't know if it was in a confessional, if it was actually in the recording, but he's like, where did you go for Snape Grass? Like, how did you get it? And I think he was surprised that Bodhi got it from Hobgoblin Island. I don't know if Solo Mission forgot that there was Snape Grass there, but I remember him being shocked that he got Snape Grass. But yeah, Bodhi got it first and knocks out Solo Mission, which means we have a Tribunal of Bodhi, Torvesta, and Settled. And again, what an unbelievably absolutely stacked first Tribunal. I was incredibly pleased with the way the Tribunal section turned out this season. First of all, I think the location of the Tribunal was absolutely beautiful. As you guys know, the theme of the season is kind of this purple, white, dark, gray, black. I don't know, just the confessional look I just loved the color scheme this season. As you guys know, I try to differentiate each season with a different, color scheme. And this time we had the purple. I thought the confessional background looked great. I thought the graphics looked great. I don't know. I was a huge fan of the purple and white. Every single time a season finishes, I always think that the graphical theme is the best one yet. And I truly thought that about season 4. So the fact that the Tribunal room was in this area in the Dragon Slayer 2 maze where it's already nice and purple. We have that glowing kind of neon-y look. And then I used the creator kit to come up with, some more props to put in the area to make it even better, make it really look like a decision room. I thought the Tribunal turned out great. So I had the little pedestals for all of them that I placed in there, and now it really looks like they're all heading in there, walking in there to make a decision. They're not actually in that room, though, when we're filming. We kind of just chill in a Discord call. Everybody's just kind of chilling at the duel arena. Again, that's all post-production stuff. Pretty much I hop into a call with them, whoever the Tribunal is, and they discuss who they want to send in, and then that's just the audio. I just take the audio from that, and then all that, the B-roll shots of them in the Tribunal room and all the walk-in shots, that's done post. That's done when the season's already over. So sorry if that ruins any immersion for you, but again, that's all post-production stuff. But it's just one of those things that I think you kind of have to do to make the show seem like a reality show. You kind of need that in there. If I just had all them standing, at the duel arena all the time, doing the decisions every single time, I don't think it would be that exciting. But just that walk into the Tribunal room with the text popping up and the music playing, I think it just makes it so much more thrilling and exciting. So I love those discussions so much, and I thought the Tribunal section was fantastic this time around. So the Tribunal has their discussion, and they decide to go with the victim. It's a very common theme for a winner of a previous season to come into the next one and instantly be a target. I mean, it's not surprising at all. The person who wins a previous season is seen as a threat, and people want to get out the threats. So the victim, being chosen in the first round wasn't too surprising for me. It happened to Verf last season. He won season 2, and then he instantly got put in season 3 in the first episode, and he actually got out. So it was kind of brutal. Again, you really are a target if you win a season. You really just are seen as a threat. So V the Victim gets put in, and I think it was so funny. I think I remember everybody in the call was, or at least a lot of people in the call, where they were probably DMing each other. In fact, I know some people were DMing each other, talking about who they want to cast their votes for, like who they think who should be voted in against V the Victim. And then I hit them with the twist of this season, you can choose who you want to go against. And this was by far, again, the biggest twist of the season. And there's a couple reasons why I chose to do it. One, again, I really wanted to differentiate this season from the other ones. There's been 2 straight seasons of the public, the rest of the group, voting in the other person to go against the person selected by the winners to go into the banning. And this time around, I really just wanted to change it up. And I thought this was a great way of going about changing up the season. Let the person who gets sent in choose who they want to go against. It really changes up the dynamics of the game, and again, really makes it unique. I saw some people saying that this format doesn't maybe benefit alliances as much, and I don't disagree with that. I do think alliances still do have their role and still do play a role in this season, but probably not as heavily as other seasons. I've said from the very start that this season was way more performance heavy than anything else. Your performance really mattered this time around compared to maybe your political game. But from what I saw on the postseason survey and the comments, people really liked a competitive season. People really liked a competition and performance-based season. That's not to say that the political game and drama and politics doesn't have a role. But again, I was just playing around with the season format, and I thought that this one was a good one to reward performance, and the season turned out great because of it. So yeah, that was kind of just the reason behind it. I've seen it work in other reality shows. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of The Challenge on MTV, and they've had a couple seasons where the person who gets sent in gets to choose who they want to go against in the elimination round. And I'm like, you know what? Let's try it out. So it worked out great throughout the season. It led to some absolutely insane matchups, which we'll talk about once we get to those episodes. But I was very, very happy with how it turned out. And in this season, or in this episode, I should say, V the Victim is probably the happiest man in the world, because he was probably expecting to have to go against Bodhi or Solo Mission or somebody, obviously a really strong competitor in his very first banning back. And of course, I think he was probably expecting it to happen. But then I tell him, you know what? No, Victim, for going in, you get to choose whoever you want to go against. So it's a two-edged sword, because you can choose to go against somebody who you think you can beat in almost every aspect of the game. But if the banning is something that they can beat you in, that one aspect that you're not good in, well, you just made the wrong decision, right? So it's a really tough decision. The best way of going about choosing somebody is choosing somebody who you think all around you have a better chance to beat. But then there were some people who were like, you know what, I'm going to go big or go home and choose the best player in the game, Bodhi, which of course we'll talk about once those moments happen. But again, in this case, V the Victim had probably the best case scenario happen to him, and that's that he gets to choose who he goes against in this first banning. And he chooses, not unfortunately, but poor Zoe Cookies. She gets chosen. It's her first episode of her first season on Gielinor Games. Now, Zoe Cookies, I had been watching on Twitch for a while. She had been involved with the Farmers. I thought she had gotten way better at the game compared to a year ago before she joined. And I thought she was absolutely hilarious. In the calls and the confessional calls I had with her, she was really funny. And I thought was just had a great, strong presence on the show. Even on the one episode that she was on, and I was really happy to have her on. But again, somebody always has to go first. So Victim chooses Zoe Cookies, and again, he mentioned it's because, well, one, she had been talking earlier in the filming session about how she's never played on a maxed main account before, and she was really excited to finally be able to play on one. And it was kind of funny because you would never think that something like that would maybe come back to bite you, but it actually does in this case, because maybe Victim wouldn't have chosen her if she hadn't mentioned that, right? But her automatically saying that and then telling everybody in a sense like, oh, I have no idea how to play on a max main account, maybe kind of made her look like fresh bait in a sense, right? Fresh meat. And maybe some people would have pounced on that because of it. So again, they have to go against now one another. He chooses her, and it's the first banning of the season. V the Victim versus Zoe Cookies. Now, there is, of course, always a world where upsets can happen. And I thought that this banning, actually, there was a chance for her. I think if I had to say what Zoe Cookie's strengths were, I would say it's probably something like DK's that she's done before. Even though she's only done it on a Group Ironman account, I believe this was not the worst banning for her to go into. The banning is called Lowball, and it's pretty much they have to go kill the Dagannoth Kings, but they have to give me a GP amount, and that's the amount that they can spend on their gear. And pretty much they don't know what the other person is sending me in terms of how much GP they're spending. So they are going into this blind in terms of what's the other person wearing and what am I going against? So they have to make a decision. Do I play it safe and just spend a lot of money and guaranteed kill all the Dagannoth Kings and, play the safety card? Or do I risk it? Do I get really risky and just go and decide to go with a low GP amount and try to kill them with really low supplies and a cheap setup? But you are risking dying since you are wearing worse gear and have less food, for example, or worse healing food. And, if you die, you're pretty much guaranteed out of the game. So it's a pretty risky decision. And I thought it was an exciting one for the very first episode. Now, the two players, Zoe Cookies decides to go for a safe setup. She decides to go for a very, very safe setup. And I believe it was like a 10 million GP setup. And I saw a lot of people being like, oh, how could she do that? Why would she do that? Well, to be honest with you, I understand where she's coming from, and I thought it was a smart decision. So she knew that she wasn't going to be able to beat Be the Victim in terms of the cheapest setup, so she just had to play it safe. She's not experienced at solo DKs. She said she's never done it before by herself, so she just had to play the best card that she had, and I think that was the right decision from her end, which was just to spend a lot of GP on a setup and just play it safe and tank through it and kill all the kings and get out, and that's exactly what she did. Be the Victim is a very experienced PVMer. He knows how to prayer flick. He knows how to, switch his prayers. He understands Dagannoth Kings. So heading into this ban, I think everybody had a good idea of who was going to win. But there's always the chance that, Victim maybe gets one shot or he gets the two Dagannoth Kings on the same tick, Rex and Prime, for example, or I don't even know, Prime and Supreme, attack him at the same tick and boom, he gets one shot. There's always the chance of that, but he's a safe player. He understands what he's doing, and he ended up taking this banning. So again, I understand where Zoe Cookies was coming from, and I think Victim just also decided to play it safe. He probably could have gone a lot cheaper as well, but he decided to go with like a 250k setup or something, maybe even less, and he was just fine in there as well. So I will say this elimination I think is really interesting. I think if, let's just say, two very, very confident PVMers had gone into this, I don't know, I'm just going to say, let's say somebody like maybe Eviescape against Bodhi or Solo Mission or Settled maybe. I think those guys would have gone in with like 2,000 GP or something absolutely crazy. And it could have been a really, really exciting Dagannoth Kings elimination. But again, for the first elimination, nerves, of course, are always there. They're playing it safe, and it turned out, I think, just fine. So we do unfortunately lose Zoe Cookies. She does get eliminated, and it's unfortunate. It always sucks so much to see somebody go out right away, but that's what makes the show exciting and just tense, and you never know what's going to happen. And we lose Zoe Cookies, and we are officially down to 17 players. So that is her gone. Be the Victim is back, and Be the Victim now gets the Amulet of Choice, another new addition to the season. Last year we had the Amulet of Power, which kept you immune from going home in the next week's episode. This time we have the Amulet of Choice. So the Amulet of Choice, 3 options. You can get partial immunity for the next week, 200 million GP, or they can choose to sabotage another player. Now I go pretty in-depth on the Amulet of Choices in my previous episodes here on this channel. Again, make sure you guys watch those to get more behind the scenes if you want it. Be the Victim chooses the sabotage option, which means heading in to next week, everybody on the cast knows that Be the Victim may be sabotaging them, and they may be at a disadvantage going into the next challenge, which is very, very exciting, probably very nerve-wracking for everybody as well. So that was a really, really awesome choice. I think I was really happy he went with that, because that makes the entire thing just way more exciting. The fact that he doesn't play the safe card in the very first choice, goes for the aggressive offensive option and chooses the Amulet of Choice, very, very exciting. So there we go. That is the first episode fully finished. That was, I believe the episode was 1 hour and 6 minutes long. I think I had the episode at almost 1 hour and 20 minutes. So it was a very, very long episode, but I had to cut it down quite a bit. So some things that are interesting that I struggle a lot of the times with shortening up challenges because there's so much I really want to show when it comes to the challenges and the eliminations, but there is kind of, in a sense, a time limit. I do try to keep the episodes around an hour, give or take 5 minutes each way. So a lot of the times I'm able to cut a lot of things and shorten them with things like B-roll shots and music montages. The music this season I thought was fantastic. I was really happy with how everything turned out in terms of the music and the audio. I thought, again, I really think just everything elevated again from the previous season, which I didn't think was really possible, to be honest with you. I thought Season 3 was perfect. I was really scared heading into Season 4. I'm like, how can I continue the quality of Season 3 into Season 4 or even one-up it? But I do think we generally managed to one-up it just with the B-roll shots and the music and the storylines and everything. Again, I was just so happy with it. So yeah, that was episode 1 complete. If you guys have any questions about episode 1 or anything else you'd like to know, again, I'm not going to talk about future episodes. This is purely an episode 1 episode, so I'll happily answer any questions you guys might have about episode 1 down below. But that was pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 1. I really, really was happy with it. And I'll see you guys all again soon for episode 2. If you would like to see these episodes before anyone else, make sure to subscribe to my Patreon. For just a couple of bucks a month, you can support my content, get access to a bunch of behind-the-scenes Gielinor Games footage, and you get to hear me read your name out loud in these videos. My Dragon Tier legends, 666 Yikes, Alderon, Alec, Butcher Q, Caroline Charlie, Empathy, PVM Clan, Flamo, Gimli, Jason, Jesper Josh, Katie, Kitten Robber, Lacey, Mookow, Mr. Monotone, Nico, Nick Us, Skype Call Gamers, Rainman MP, The Owl 909, and Vika. To my Rune Tier kings and queens like Gracie, Alex, Alan, and Cesar. My Adamant Tier lovers like Luis, Mitoretta, Elijah, and Ben. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you all so much for the support. I'll see all of you in the next upload, which will hopefully be very, very soon.